Chère Simone, dire votre nom est pour moi un moment de très grande émotion.
It's for me a very emotional moment. I think this is an emotion that is shared by all the people that are present here today. Saying your name is, drawing tears and inspiring joy and courage.
Comme j'ai envie de vous poser une seule question.
I would like to ask you just one question, and I think it's a question that we all have in this room. And since I know, unfortunately, that you won't be able to provide me with an answer directly, we asked Gabrielle Dionard, Caral Corazar, and myself. We asked Maurice Lévy
et Anne Sinclair, son ami, de tenter d'y répondre.
We asked to his son and to Anne Sinclair to answer this question. What is the question? What daring? What is daring? How can one dare? How do you decide, to stand up, to fight, to get out of your comfort zone? And how do you try to stand up for what you believe in, for your values? If I was to summarize my question in one word, I would say what being Simone is about. So Pierre-François, Maurice and Anne, could you come on stage to try to tell us what is that?
Merci Clara.
Thank you, Clara. It's a difficult question. And as far as I am concerned, I'm not sure that I can provide you with an answer. I accepted to moderate this session with a lot of humbleness. Because talking about Simone Veil, talking about this extraordinary personality and this really outstanding fate is really beyond what I know what I know how to do. So I'll ask you to be indulgent, especially if you feel that there's a lot of emotions going through our conversation. To talk about it, Pierre-François Veil, a lawyer that is deeply respected by the business world, is the chairman of the French Committee for Yad Vashem, and is the youngest of Simone Veil's sons. Those of you who were fortunate enough to follow the national burials in the Invalides heard an outstanding speech that I still keep in my memory, a speech pronounced by Pierre-François with the presence of the President of the Republic and many personalities, many known figures. I invite those of you who are not able to hear this speech and see the ceremony, well, I invite you to take down the address that is going to be displayed on the screens, because I think it would be very good for you to look at this ceremony. It's really an outstanding moment.
Et puis avec Pierre-François, Anne Sinclair.
And with Pierre-François, we have Anne Sinclair.
Il n'est pas nécessaire de présenter.
And there's no need to introduce Anne. She's the most brilliant, the most relevant of all French journalists. She has interviewed the major public figures in the world. She had the most intelligent, the smartest, and the most watched show on French television. Simone Veil is really an outstanding character, and I'm going to speak about her. She's gone through the dark hours of deportation in Auschwitz. She, was in the company of Das in a daily manner, and when she came back, instead of looking for revenge, she really advocated, close relationship with Germany, and she really took actions to stand up for the European idea. She had a brilliant career as a judge, as a magistrate, and was really interested in the fate of prisoners in prisons, in jails. It is interesting because I think other people would have carried out this struggle differently. She became the Minister of Health. She initiated the law for the freedom of abortion, hence, increasing French women's liberty. And nothing was spared for her. But she was able to really embody courage, determination, intelligence, compassion, and even sometimes she embodied discouragement. She fought against all type of lobbies. I'm sorry to mention that, but she was a major smoker. She was very sincere because she stopped smoking in order to embody the fight against, smoking. And the list is long, for the list of all the struggles she embodied. She was a political leader, and, her history is really outstanding. Before anything else, she was a very opinionated woman, a very demanding mother, but also a courageous woman who could decide who could decide by herself what women can do to lead the world. Before I give the floor to before I give the floor to Anne Sinclair and Pierre-François, we are going to watch a movie about her.
Devant cette assemblée presque exclusivement composée d'hommes. Aucune femme ne recourt de gaieté de cœur à l'avortement. Il suffit d'écouter les femmes.
On savait que ce serait intense, violent et très intime.
Ils avaient des pancartes que j'ai eu le temps de lire sur lesquelles il y avait « Veille Hitler, même combat ».
Elle tenait le coup.
Je crois qu'il n'y a pratiquement pas de jour où ma mère nous a dit qu'il fallait faire des études et avoir un métier.
Elle ne défendit pas les femmes parce qu'elles étaient femmes, mais parce qu'elles étaient humiliées par la puissance des hommes.
Au fond de moi-même, je suis très féministe.
La femme parfaite.
Maîtresse de maison très convenable.
Qu'est-ce qu'on fait quand on est Monsieur Simone Veil? Quand j'ai perçu qu'elle avait plus de percussion politique que moi.
Madame Veil, 192 voix.
J'ai pris du champ parce que je me suis dit que si je persistais, je serais que le poulidor du couple. Quelle maman a été Simone Veil? Sévère?
Pas sévère, mais redoutable.
Qu'est-ce que vous avez fait? Franchement, rien.
Elle laisse rien passer.
Si, mais pas l'essentiel.
Je crois que c'est inutile de faire celui qui ne sait pas. Vous connaissez ça même beaucoup mieux que moi.
Elle avait des colères homériques.
Vous n'êtes que des SS au petit pied.
Il fallait tout de même savoir se défendre, sinon très rapidement, la vie vous échappait.
J'ai été, et d'une certaine façon, je le suis restée, absolument sans illusion.
On a quelque chose en plus de la connaissance de l'homme.
Ma mère, je crois profondément que c'est elle. Chaque jour, elle est présente.
La grande aventure, ça a été la réconciliation. Il fallait faire l'Europe.
Alors parfois, cette indépendance l'amène à en effet prendre des positions qui ne sont pas celles de son groupe.
Je n'ai jamais eu envie de faire une grande carrière politique.
Je le regrette pour le pays. Si tu étais mieux que Mitterrand et Chirac.
Simone, dans la famille Jacob, c'est celle qui dit non.
Vous étiez timide, vous?
Non.
Qu'est-ce qu'elle vous a transmis, votre mère?
Un goût accentué de dire non d'abord.
Comme nous en avons encore besoin de cette capacité de colère et d'action qui, jusqu'au bout, l'animèrent.
Vous, les femmes, ce que vous êtes d'abord, c'est courageuse.
La peur n'est pas dans son registre de sentiments.
Et les Français aiment le courage. Comme l'immense majorité des Français, nous vous aimons, madame.
Merci.
Thank you.
Pour ajouter qu'Antoine avait raison.
I'd like to add that Antoine was right. It would have been better than Mitterrand or Chirac.
Anne, je vais commencer par vous.
I'll start with
Vous
you,
avez été
Anne.
très proche de Simone.
You were
Vous l'avez
very
d'abord
close
connue dans
to
la vie
Simone.
privée.
You
Très
knew
amie.
her
Vous l'avez
personally,
interviewée
you were
je ne sais
friends,
combien de
you
fois.
interviewed her
Est-ce que
many
Vous
times.
pouvez nous dire en tant que
Could you
femme
tell
et
me,
en tant
as
que
a woman,
journaliste
as a journalist,
et en tant qu'observatrice
and
de
as
toute cette
someone
période,
who observes
Simone, tempérament,
our
sa personnalité,
times,
représente pour vous?
what does Simone represent for you?
L'émotion d'abord de
Emotion,
revoir ces images que j'ai déjà
first,
vues à chaque
to
fois.
watch these
Les
pictures
mots
that I've
qui
seen
portaient ce que
before,
Pierre-François ressemble,
but
et moi, je
every
suis très
time, you know,
émue.
I'm
J'ai
very,
eu, comme
very
journaliste,
moved.
la chance de
As a
l'interviewer
journalist, I
plusieurs
was
fois,
very lucky to be
et
able
comme
to
femme,
interview her
le privilège qu'elle me
several
considère comme son
times.
amie.
And as a woman, I had the privilege of having her seeing me as a friend. When I had to interview her, as you could see, she was a beautiful woman. She would make you shy because of her green eyes and the way she looked at you. She could not bear, you know, people that were, you know, approximate. And she was, Antoine was right. She was what politicians were not. That is to say, she was completely free. Free in her convictions, in her courage, in her way to say things. You know, she could not care less about being politically correct. And, you know, to say things simply, when one survives Mengele, one does not fear Charles Pasqua, who used to be a minister at the same time as she was. So she had this charisma, this conviction that would convince you, basically. And this is how she would speak publicly, and this is why she she left a strong mark on our memory. And as a friend, and I was her friend, you know, she was very affectionate, very attentive to what you were. She did not have, you know, she was a very good character sometimes, and at times, you know, I was shouted out by Simone. I mean, it would be too long to explain, but, you know, we had different stands about movie regarding collaboration. She was really against the image that the French people had in this movie. She thought that the film was insisting on collaboration too much. And sometimes, you know, I would tell her, well, the European Parliament is useless. And she would say, what? You know, and then I would be seriously shouted at. Simone was about passion, about authenticity, sincerity, conviction, and freedom. Freedom of women. And if there is one lesson to take home for the women here, is that, you know, a free speech makes women strong. It's, you know, a constrained speech that makes them less free. Pierre-François, when you're the youngest one, when you are on the
et qu'on observe, comme ça a été dit,
knees of your mom in front of thousands and millions of French, when you have a woman like Simone being your mom in a world dominated by men. When you see her on, a stage, and when you have her at home. Was Simone very different from what she was in the public eye at home? What about, fits of anger that Anne was talking about, because I experienced that too. We all got shouted at. And the founder of Publicis, for example, really got shouted at himself. So from the eyes of the kid you were, how was Simone like? Dear Maurice, before I answer, I'd like to say a few words and thank the Women's Forum and our chairwoman, Claire Guesmar, because all the sons in the world would dream of being in this forum to praise his mother. That's the dream of every man.
Devant l'Assemblée des femmes qui comptent dans le monde.
No, here in this forum for women that really make a difference in the world, Sigmund Freud has invented a profession, psychoanalysts, actually earn a living because of Freud. And, I'm lucky enough to have a session and psychoanalytical sessions in the Women's Forum. I'll be eternally grateful for that. Thank you very much. I'm very surprised, dear Maurice, dear Anne, about the personality that you give to Simone. I never got caught. I'm sure that you did things that you did not like. You must have had strange opinions. No, more seriously. Regarding the relationships that Simone had with her environment, first of all, I believe, Simone came from a family of pharmacists, of farmers, sorry. The main character in the family was Simone's mother. She was a beautiful woman. We've seen a few pictures of her, and Mom was extremely sad to have only 3 sons. Of course, it was great, especially the third one, but she would have loved to have woman. Of course, well, we had daughters, the sons. So she had women at home. But, this is not only about humor, because in reality at home, she was bathing in an environment that was a male environment, in a society.
Les suffragettes qui se battent aujourd'hui pour féminiser le vocabulaire, pour
you have women today that are, standing up so that there are more feminine words. It's nothing to do with the society in which we used to live 50 years ago. You're talking about, sometimes she was very angry. When she was a judge, Mom used to work with the civil innovation. She worked on the text that was balancing out the rights of parents over their children.
Également sur
She was also
les
working
droits de l'homme et de la femme et de l'égalité de l'homme et de la femme dans le
on,
couple.
you know,
Car le
rights of
développement
men
des
and
femmes,
women and
c'est juste
gender
avant le
equality
juste
within the
après-guerre que
couple.
les femmes ont eu le droit d'ouvrir leur courrier.
You know, it's just after the war that women were authorized to open their letters, their personal letters, just after the war.
Ouvre encore le courrier.
I still open the letters, actually.
Moi, mon épouse me laisse ouvrir le courrier quand elle voit que ce sont des factures.
Actually, my wife authorizes me to open the letters when there are invoices. No, I'm only joking because it's not true at all, actually. It's not very nice what I say.
Et venait de passer un texte qui donnait le droit à une femme
And she
d'ouvrir un
was
compte en banque
actually
sans l'autorisation de son mari. Nous sommes au milieu des années
working
60.
on a law
1960, hein,
in order to authorize women to open a bank account
ça peut paraître extravagant.
without the
Eh bien,
authorization
maman,
of her
je me souviens
husband.
d'avoir accompagné petit garçon
And
dans
I
le-
remember being a small boy and going with my mom
Et on lui a demandé
to open a
l'autorisation.
bank
Et il y a un
account,
malheureux employé de banque,
and
je ne citerai pas le
a
nom de
bank
l'établissement
employee, I'm not
qui lui
going
a
to
demandé
give the name of the bank,
l'autorisation de son
but
mari.
a bank employee
Alors, croyez-moi,
asked for a husband
vous
authorization.
n'avez jamais pris une
You
avoinée
can
comme ça.
believe me, and that you would never were shouted out
Le type,
as
le type s'est
the
précipité
bank employee was shouted
dans le
at.
bureau du directeur de la
The employee
de l'agence
actually ran
Publicis
to
de
the
la
bank
pour essayer
branch
d'obtenir des explications sur
in
cette dame qui
Square
disait que le texte avait
Saint-Michel
changé
in order
et
to
que la
try
réglementation
to
intérieure de la
obtain
banque était juste contraire à la loi.
explanation
Voilà. Donc,
and that
oui,
the bank
maman
had
avait
made a
un certain
mistake because there
caractère,
was a new law.
mais
So yes,
sur les
my
sujets,
mom was strongly opinionated and had a strong personality, but for very major and essential
et les sujets que vous avez
subjects.
évoqués sont des
The
sujets
subjects
étaient pour
that
elle,
you
sont, à mon
mentioned
sens, des sujets importants. Je pourrais reprendre à
were
l'instant
essential to her.
le même débat qu'elle avec vous
And actually I could
sur ce film et sur le rôle du
have
Parlement
the
européen.
same discussion
donc
with
elle
her
était,
as the
tout de même
discussion I'm
extraordinairement fière,
having with you
d'avoir été
right now.
élue
She was
la
actually
première
very proud of
présidente
having been
d'un Parlement
elected,
élu au suffrage
you
universel
know, as the
pour la première
first woman president of the European Parliament.
On fait le portrait là.
What I'd like to add, Maurice, since Simone died, we are drawing the portrait of a real icon in France, but also worldwide. Simone was a star, but Simone was not acting as a star. She could have been a diva. But when she was hearing that she was a real icon, she would not even understand that we were talking about her. She was not, you know, aware of her own charisma, so to speak. And she was actually surprised about her own charisma. But it would not prevent her from saying what she had to say. Yes, you're right. She thought actually that she was funny.
Oui, alors ça, elle n'avait pas vraiment
As a matter of
le sens de l'humour.
fact, yes, she did not really have a
Comment
very
c'est
good
Antoine
sense of
qui avait
humor.
dit ça.
Antoine had a very good sense of humor.
Et les fils ont repris le même
And
genre
the
de l'humour.
sons had a very good sense of humor. Jean had a good sense of humor. Pierre-François does not have a good sense of humor. How did it go with Antoine at home?
Nous, on a été les témoins. Je n'imagine pas que qui que ce soit puisse penser que 60 ans de couple se passe sans...
Anybody would think that 60 years of a married couple would go without difficulty. But there was decency. My father believed that children didn't even need to know the the first name of their parents, so even less about the difficulties that their parents might have had.
D'abord très unis.
It was a very united couple.
Et puis, dans lequel, effectivement, comme il l'a dit, lui,
and as he said with a lot of humor in
notre père a très
TV show,
qui était passionné de politique.
Our father was really passionate about politics. He used to be a very high-level civil servant. He was really interested in the public things. But very soon, when he understood that Simone was going to have a real political career, well, he understood, of course, that she would have the political career. And as a matter of fact, he was very happy about that. He was very proud. And he actually had a very good sense of humor about that. When Simone was elected in the French Academy, I think in 2009 or 2008, it was a huge honor for her. To be able to be part of the circle of the immortals. I actually picked up my phone and I called them, to congratulate her. And Antoine picked up the phone. I said, it's great, it's wonderful. And it actually said, well, for the Pantheon, it will be a bed, a large bed, a bed for 2 people. And that's what happened, actually. She was very sincere. She was not always politically correct. So how can you explain that she was able to have the extraordinary career that she had? How could she remain very sincere, very honest, and with all, the blows, the bad blows that are, very common in the political circles. Well, it was a freedom. Men were shy, were intimidated in front of her. She was imposing, and her freedom meant that she could say what she wanted to say, how she wanted to say, including to political officials, including with Nicolas Sarkozy, who wanted to impose a day in which the French children would take the name of a kid that would have died in the Shoah. She actually stood up and said that it was completely stupid and she did not agree with that idea. I was a witness to that. I actually attended one of these scenes.
I think she was the contrary of these people who actually try and come up with a small brief sentence that is going to be quoted in the press. She wasn't a speaker. She wasn't so much into language. Sometimes she ended up using endless formulas, but she was hungry for faith, for conviction, and this was actually getting rid of all the cliches of politicians, and that's what made her what she was. I think she was a free person, as you said, which means that she had the possibility to say whatever she wanted without fearing for her career, because her freedom was dearer than anything to her. On the other side, she was extremely loyal. She hated betrayal. She hated people letting down other people. And when she was getting involved in a political party, she was actually stuck to it because it was so meaningful to her, but she would remain free. But what gave her that strength that enabled her to get rid of all obstacles? Because, as we heard, she was asked to take part in the work of a fight against of the Commission to fight drug addiction. And she told them, remain independent. Maybe we should tell people about Charles Pasqua, that everybody knows him. He was Minister for internal affairs, and he was a bit tough, so to say.
Pierre-François, est-ce que vous l'avez vu découragé, fatigué?
Pierre-François, have you ever seen her feeling down, feeling like giving up, saying I'm fed up, I'm stopping? No, not really, no. And I think that I owe her to say that there is a picture of her at the National Assembly that was taken on the 26th of November 1974, a session during which many people make comments. Some people had hateful words at the time in the Parliament in reaction to the draft law, to the bill that she was putting forward about depenalizing abortion. Some people said that she was in tears. I don't believe that. And I know it's not true because she told me it's not true. She was just exhausted. And she's not even sure that this picture was taken at the moment she got insulted. Maybe, but maybe not. So, no, I don't remember seeing her discouraged. I've seen her worried because of a project that might not get through. I've seen her very worried because of the war in Yugoslavia. I think that today she would be extremely concerned with what's happening in Spain when there are strong risks of seeing an implosive situation develop. But I've never seen her disheartened. Well, now I'm going to get told off by the son. No, but I sincerely believe that it rarely happened to her to be discouraged. Yes, I think that Simone was someone who was moving forward, making headways. When we see what women in France owe her, when we see that some are actually questioning the right to get aborted, to carry out an abortion, and I mean this happened even here. I mean, it's only 45 years after the law was adopted. It proves that her struggle was a hard struggle that could give the impression it was won, but Simone was always a step ahead, and she was moving on to the next stage in the struggle. What it came from, I guess, from what she'd been through, her parents, and maybe just her temperament. She had no illusion. And she knew that nothing was granted. Emmanuel Macron, the President of the Republic, said it. Well, let's not mistake this situation for another. The struggles carried through by Simone Veil are not victories and rights that will remain forever. Yes, I think these rights remain fragile, and even not only when she was a magistrate, but also when she worked as a minister, she remained very sensitive to the condition of women. And I think what we're going to miss most is this nostalgia for the hero. We don't we don't have that many heroes anymore, and maybe she wasn't aware of this, but she was a great figure. Okay, now if I may, two brief exercises. So first, she's going to get to the Pantheon with Antoine. This is about the motherland being grateful to some of its citizens. So if you had to say just a couple of words, what would you say? Well, I would repeat what I said here. Nostalgia for great figures of history. I would say commitment and integrity. And to finish, one anecdote, slightly personal one. Well, I just got told off, but what comes to me very quickly, I was leading this program on TV on a Sunday night, and I would speak with Simone and Antoine after the TV show. She'd say, yes, well, your customer was good, wasn't good, he was boring. And one evening I got to the restaurant and I said, well, Simone, what did you think of François Bayrou? He was good tonight. And I'm not even telling you how she told me off. I mean, Simone bear grudges against him because he led her campaign for the European elections, so she had good reasons actually to be angry at him. And she threw a tantrum. She literally insulted me that day. That was her truth. When she didn't like someone, well, she would speak out and everybody knew. You want an anecdote from me now? She considered that he betrayed her from the first day to the last day. The character was still very young, and I think that he confirmed his talents.
Une anecdote.
So one anecdote.
Une anecdote plus distrayante alors.
Well, a more funny one now. As I said, my mom had 3 sons, but she had 3 daughters-in-law as well. And I got married twice, same as many people. And the second time I wasn't that young. I was 40 years old after remaining single for a few years. And my new girlfriend, who wasn't my spouse at the time, gave me a present for Christmas or for my birthday. My mom asked me what it was. And I said, well, she gave me a duvet. And I said, well, she said, be careful, darling. I think she wants to settle down with you.
Merci.
That will be the last word.